Hey, I'm Luke Gaydon from Terra Nutra, and welcome to the latest episode in our video series. Today I'm going to be talking about the importance of trees. Many of you will already think that trees are important, great. But for those of you who don't, hopefully you will be interested to hear what I've got to say. So the trees play an incredibly important part in combating climate change and in our mission to create a carbon positive world. And so I'll be talking a bit about that and some of the science behind it. I'll also be talking about other ways that trees are important, because obviously they're not only there for our benefit, and then also a little bit about some of the ways that that our lives and our cultures are inextricably linked with trees, which many of you will be very much aware of because they'll be in your sort of everyday lives, and they'll be very familiar reference points to you, but you might not have sort of stopped to take a moment to think about them and to realize kind of how profound the relationship between us and trees are. So let's start by talking about the importance of trees when it comes to carbon emissions and fighting climate change. I am now going to try and explain what carbon sequestration is. It's a big word. Carbon sequestration is the process of capturing carbon dioxide and then storing it safely away from the atmosphere. So by reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, carbon emissions as we call them, you are reducing global warming and you are fighting climate change. And sequestration is a natural occurrence. It's something that happens in nature, and there are various natural bodies which sequester carbon as part of their everyday lives, and trees are a great example of that. You also have oceans, soils, particularly soils like peat. These all sequester carbon, and so they absorb the carbon, but then most importantly they trap it and they keep it there safe. Now that's fantastic, because that means that trees and soils and oceans and so forth, over the course of time have been and continue to sequester all of this carbon and lock it up. Unfortunately, if those trees, or if that soil, those oceans are damaged, then not only do they stop sequestering carbon, so they stop absorbing it, but there is also the potential that they can release the carbon that they've stored back out into the atmosphere. So all of the good work that they had done previously in terms of absorbing all of that carbon is undone. And so if you are going back to trees and so forth, this is one of the reasons that a key focus for people like Terra Nutra and hopefully you and governments and various bodies and institutions are focusing on trees is we need to protect the existing large forests, rainforests in particular, that we have. So this is why cutting down vast chunks of rainforest is such a problem. Specifically to sequestration, is that you are losing all of that sequestration capacity, and you're also potentially unlocking all of that carbon. So we need to, it's incredibly important that we protect those existing rainforests so they can continue to do their good work, but we also need to repair some of the damage, if not all of the damage that we've done to forests and trees that are no longer there. So to give you an example, we cut down trees at a rate of about 15 billion a year. I think in 2019 we lost a football pitch worth of rainforest every 6 seconds, which is an extraordinary statistic. Now, at the last count, and I don't know how you would count to a number this high, but at the last count I think there were about 460 trillion trees in the world. So there obviously is still a lot left, but we can't afford to be complacent about that, given how quickly and how many we're cutting down. And so again, a key focus for people who want to create a carbon positive world, who want to fight climate change, is in protecting trees that are already in the ground, but then really really helping to produce, to create more, to plant more, and that's something we're going to go on to talk about now. Yeah. So we already work with a project that protects a rainforest in Cambodia, and we'll be talking about that again in one of our later videos. But we also want to help plant more trees. For those of you who've been with Terra Nutra for a while, you may remember that back in April we made a commitment to plant 1,000 trees in celebration of the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So today I am delighted to announce that we are going to be planting 1,000 trees, and I hope an awful lot more than that, with our new partner Grand de Vie. Grand de Vie is a Belgian NGO, non-governmental organisation. It was founded in 2009, and since then it has planted over 250 million trees in Africa, specifically in Madagascar, Togo and Benin. Sort of 25 million makes our 1,000 look pretty small, but as the saying goes, every little helps. So those trees have been responsible for 100,000 tons of carbon dioxide being sequestered each year. So that's amazing, and we would like to be able to say that we've sequestered that. We've been responsible for helping Grand de Vie sequester that much carbon, and so we are very, very excited about this project. To put the 100,000 tons of carbon into perspective, because obviously 25 million, that's a big number. 100,000 tons, that's a big number. So the average UK resident's carbon footprint is around sort of 10 to 12 tons. So that's once you do the maths, and I'm going to try and do it in my head, and I'll probably get it wrong, but that 100,000 tons only accounts for about 10,000 people, if I use the really simple number, per year, and that's in the UK. And when you consider that the UK has a population of, I think it's around 69 million people, as great an achievement as it is, we need to do more. So the area that we are going to be planting trees with Grand de Vie in is Madagascar, which, as well as being one of the most beautiful places in the world, I haven't been, but I know people who have, and that's what they tell me. It's also one of the most deforested countries in the world. So 2% of Madagascar's rainforest area is destroyed every year. However, it is still the second largest primary rainforest outside of Amazonia, obviously, which is also being devastated in terms of deforestation. So Madagascar contains a huge amount of space for reforestation, and because of how much, because of the rate of rainfall, it's one of the few countries in the world where large-scale reforestation actually can occur. So the climate conditions are kind of perfect for growing, lots and lots of trees. The trees planted in Madagascar have a very sort of high sequestration rate, again by virtue of the climate conditions, and so we think that this is an absolutely fantastic place to be working with Grand de Vie. The way that the project works is that members of the Grand de Vie team work with local communities to plant, develop, and then monitor each of the reforestation projects, and each planting site for each project has a nursery site which is looked after by people from the local villages, who are then also employed as the tree planters, thereby kind of providing employment for people in the local communities, and actually making their well-being and the well-being of the trees tightly connected. So they are the guardians of the trees. They look after them, they monitor, they protect them, and so it is the projects help improve the lives of the people in those communities, and so again, we think this is a fantastic project to be involved in. The Grand de Vie also support the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is, as anybody who knows a little bit about us knows, that we're very keen on, and so we're incredibly happy to partner with them, and really excited about planting a lot of trees. So we've added a number of tree planting options to our website, which you'll be able to see if you go to terranutra.com. And we've you can plant anywhere from 20 trees to 1,000 if you wanted to match ours. So one tree can make a difference, and we hope that at least one tree is something that everybody will be able to commit to. So really excited about that, and hopefully the next time we kind of get around the table to talk about this project, I will be able to give you an update, and hopefully that number of 1,000 trees will be significantly higher. I don't think it'll come as news to anyone that animals live in trees. So trees are particularly important to those animals. So birds, monkeys, snakes, insects, who consider trees to be their home. They also have provided food and shelter for us over the years. We've all stood underneath a tree when it was raining, and we've all eaten the fruit off trees. And so, that's another way in which I think we would agree that trees are pretty important. But it's also kind of interesting to take a look at the way that we are sort of culturally bound to trees. So this is something I sort of did as a part of looking into this post. And whatever culture you're from, a tree will probably play a very important part in it, whether it's a Christmas tree or the Bodhi tree, which is where Buddha gained enlightenment from, or and I've tried to pronounce the same, Yggdrasil, which I think in Norse mythology is the tree that connects the 9 worlds. We have sort of great heroes from various cultures who have lived in or around trees. The most obvious one, I guess, if you're English, would be Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest. And so again, we have this very, very tight connection with trees. They've been around longer than we have. They've been in an all-present sort of every ever-present part of our lives. And so, if you look at culture, if you look at mythology, if you look at the symbols and the references that we see in our day-to-day today, trees are kind of everywhere. I thought it would be sort of fun to have a look at some interesting facts about trees. And again, this was Google helping me out here. I did a look. So I'm not 100% sure. Some of these sound right, and then some I've included because I just thought they sounded so wonderful. But one that is very interesting, Da Vinci created a rule of trees which says that if you put all the branches of a tree together, they'll be equal to the thickness of the trunk. And apparently, again, I haven't double-checked this one, or at least I have, and I couldn't find a definitive answer, that it looks like that is right. One of my favourite notions about trees, that there is a tree in Georgia, in America, that legally owns itself. So Professor Jackson, who's the previous owner of the tree, loved this oak tree so much that in the 1800s he deeded the tree ownership of itself and the land within 8 feet of it on all sides, which I'm sure that the tree was incredibly grateful for, and probably somewhat bemused because it probably didn't realise that it was owned by him anyway. So some other interesting things about trees. So this speaks to the sort of the probably these benefits of trees that we're not necessarily consciously aware of, but it has been proven that trees have great mental health benefits. Being around trees, being around woodlands, spending time in them, relaxes people, makes people feel better about the world, more connected with the world. But for a stat for the sort of consumerist world that we live in today, apparently people have a 12% higher willingness to pay for goods and services in retail areas that have trees in them, like street trees, gardens, and so forth. Which I'm sure we'll see Amazon, planting trees all over the place as a result of that. So some other interesting things. The Methuselah is one of the Methuselah, which is a 4,765-year-old Bristol cone pine, is one of the oldest living trees in the world. And in one day, a large tree can lift 100 gallons of water out of the ground and discharge it into the air. So that's another really important thing that trees do for us and for everything on this planet that sort of breathes, which is they clean air. So they suck in harmful pollutants, and they purify them. So trees sort of in many ways act as a sort of a set of lungs for the planet, and again, you can see how how we've become so closely connected with them in terms of our cultures and our mythology. So some kind of hopefully new information there about why trees are interesting and why they're important. Thank you for joining me for this this latest video series. I hope for those of you who already thought that trees are important, you've learned something fun that you didn't know already, and for those of you who maybe didn't realise they were as important as they were, I hope I've inspired you to help us protect them and to plant some more. Either way, it's been great talking to you. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again soon.